I originally knew I had to give this talk. And the funny thing happened on the way to doing the talk was that um, I had a real life thing happen to me. And the real life thing that happened to me was the fact that I do mystery shopping, if any of you don't know, which means I go look at things for companies and then I give my honest feedback. That's no different than when a prospective member comes to your club. And I'm going to be talking about a number of things that after 2 years of COVID, some of us still are in the dark about. And I'm going to try and shed the light on it. But we have to understand that once you get over the hurdle of getting a new person to come to your meeting, unless it's all in person, if you're hybrid, it's very important how you appear on Zoom. Having said that, I'm going to share my little horror story. So this company contacted me and they said, we'd like you to evaluate this speech, which I did. And then at the end of it, I had to do a written evaluation. Now, even though this person knew exactly every bit of information, a number of things she did were unprofessional for what I considered a very important decision. And I'll dig into this a little bit later. For the moment, maybe you can guess what one of the things is right here. And if not, I'm not going to worry about it because we'll cover that. Where are you? That's my first segment. Where are you? You have your light pointed right at the camera, and I feel like I'm burning in the sun. My retinas are going to fall off because I can't, you just have so much light going to you. I can't see anything. This one, I don't think this gentleman paid his power bill, and it's so dark. Well, there's the curious dichotomy there. Too much light, not enough light. What you going to do? Hold tight. There, zombie apocalypse. Enough light, I can actually see a person there, but because the light is from where? It's from behind the speaker. Hello, friends, behind the speaker. Are you listening to me? The light should be in front of the speaker. And you might say to me, well, Bert, how do I figure that out? You have a great meter right here on your phone. What you need to do to test where you need to put your recording apparatus, your Zoom apparatus, is take this phone, which I'm sure that everybody has, put it on selfie mode and aim it at yourself and keep moving until you really get a good picture. And then that's the way you need to set your room up. It's not a mystery. It's not a big production. It's really, really simple, as Kurt says. Another thing that happens is you don't have the camera in the right angle. I ain't got no body. I ain't got no body. Wow, how many of us have seen this? Or, peekaboo, I'm here, but you can't see me. You know what? I think there's more to you than that little corner of your face. Or they have the camera so low that you're looking at Mr. Turkey Neck. We don't need to see the turkey neck. This is all has to do, these 3 slides I've talked about, have to do with just aligning your camera so that you are centered in the image. which looks a little bit more like that. Now, since I spoke about phones earlier, this particular image was from a phone. And you can see on the corners here between my yellow marks and the image, there's a lot of wasted space. Here's a secret for all you people that like to use your phones and your iPads. You ready? Turn it 90 degrees. All of a sudden, the area that they can see you is better. You don't feel like you're in a keyhole and everybody's just prying away looking at you. It amazes me. Another thing that amazes me is the fact that after almost everybody goes to these meetings, that lady that gave her presentation there didn't realize that when she went to PowerPoint, her name was covered. Her face was covered by her name. I'm going to show you. See that? I can't see her face because of her name. She needs to practice this. If you're going to give a demonstration, you need to practice where you're putting the camera. And then once you do that, stabilize it. I have a phone holder that costs $9 that's very portable. And you stabilize it. I go to a Sunday meeting, and I'll swear to you, one of the persons puts the phone on their stomach, and it's like seasick. Watching that phone, that image of them go up and down and up and down. Once you have the placement, now if you're using a laptop or anything like that, if you put it on boxes, we can't tell. We can't see what's going on in your room. But you got to get the camera set at eye level. And the epitome of rudeness. How many of you go to Toastmasters meetings in person and put a bag over your head that says Bert on it? Well, not Bert, but your name. This is the rudest thing you can do. And when that lady was given that presentation the other day, the gentleman that was hosting it did that. I never saw what he looked like. He spoke about, oh, we set this up and da-da, and she introduced him, but I never saw him. Here's a big secret, friends. I want you to be the audience that you want. Now, if you want to have an audience where it's all just names, keep it up. But I can guarantee you, you will never be able to get any feedback from that. You won't be able to tell if they're enjoying it, whether they're immersed in it, or what is happening. This, to me, is the epitome of rudeness. And if you don't know how to undo that, there are at least 800 videos on YouTube, plus I know there are numerous ones on Zoom that can teach you how to do this. Friends, these people are coming to you to have an effective presentation. Somebody actually told me the other night that somebody gave a speech and all they had up was their name. How can you even evaluate something like that? You can't. There's no possible way. They could have been sitting there reading it straight from a card. You have no clue. I would never give that person an evaluation. I said the audio was great, but I can't do the evaluation until I see the video. We're in a video age. The biggest part of Toastmasters is speaking, and another big part is seeing. If we can't see you because you're hidden in a corner or you're always sees the top of your head, this is crucial stuff, and it is easily fixed. Now, the next thing, I want to preface this by saying we've all been to meetings in person where people do some of the stuff that I'm going to mention. But I have been to a club's meeting where almost every single meeting, one of the members goes, Oh, I have to get my dogs outside. They're barking. They're carrying on. Well, that's what this lady did in the presentation. 2 times her dogs interfered with that presentation. You know what? Walk the dog before your presentation. Put him in another room. But sometimes we have voices around us. Like sometimes we have the dogs and we don't recognize them, or we may even have birds or something like that, that they do chirping noises and things like that, that we have actually tuned out. Well, you know, another thing that we tune out, we do this big time when we're slurping our drink, when we're if you're going to drink, don't do that. Or we're eating some crunchy Fritos and all we hear is nom, 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 nom. And I know you've been to meetings where people have done that. Here's the most powerful tool in the entire universe, the mute button that is in the bottom of the Zoom window. Mute yourself. Why do you think you're muted during this presentation? Number one, because it's being recorded. And number two, most people don't realize they're making all the background noises. I didn't even realize it when I took a break that I left this open and you heard me go to the toilet and talk and everything else. We have to be cognizant when we're using Zoom that this button here has more power than you can imagine. And don't be offended if the host mutes you. So what is happening? I wonder what is happening. What's going on? I actually attended a Sunday service when COVID was full bore, where people were laying on their couches, wearing t-shirts, drinking beverages. It could have been beer for all I know, wearing a ball hat. Is this a sleepover? If you're going to set up your camera, at least make the bed. But a better deal would be find a corner of the room where you don't have a bunch of stuff and try and set your rig up there. Another thing that happens is because we cannot see you, because you decided that you want to be anonymous, is anybody in this picture actually paying attention to the speaker? We got a guy leaving the room. We got a guy almost sleeping. We got another lady, I know she's checking her emails. It's imperative when a speaker is up that you pay attention to them. You got to be watching the speaker when they're presenting. It's very important. Because if you do keep your camera on, which you should do, you should pay attention to the speaker. Wow, that's some hard stuff, Bert. You expect us to act like we're at an actual meeting. I've been to meetings where people have been on the treadmill, or they've been walking in the wilderness. This is not the Blair Witch Project. This is not, let's show you the real action of this. What happens when you do that is you get out of breath. And if you aren't muted, we all hear, and the more you go, the tireder you get, or they'll be walking. No, don't do this. Don't do this. And number one, don't do this. Are you listening, AG? Never did I say this strong enough. Do you understand this? Never do a Zoom meeting when you're in the car driving. If we get tickets for texting while we're driving, how distracted can you be during a Zoom meeting? If it's that important a meeting, then what you need to do is pull over and park and then resume the meeting. I was actually at a TLI a while back, and one of my presenters was in a car, and he was traveling over the Great Plateau to go to Dollywood or something, and we lost his signal 3 times. Now, he was a passenger in the car, but generally speaking, if you're moving, even as a passenger, you're probably going to lose your your audio. And that's another thing that lady did. Her audio was terrible. I don't know whether it was a bad system or anything like that, but I could only hear about 1/3, 2/3 of what she was saying. Friends, I guess what I'm saying is, I really, deep down inside, wish that you would treat these meetings like they're a real thing, like you are actually going to go to the real thing. I have my suit pants on, I have my tie on, I'm ready to go to a meeting. You will see me at these, particularly the speech contest and the division in the meetings. When you assign people when you assign importance to the meeting, people understand that. If you show up in a t-shirt, just laying back in your chair, just taking it easy, sipping away on your drink, eating like there's no tomorrow, you've just told that person that, hey, pretty much you could blow this meeting off. It doesn't mean anything. I think we need to get back to the fact that in person, the meetings are important. And even on hybrid, it's more important that you be there, that you be present, that you be seen. And if you're not speaking, be quiet. We owe it to the members that come to our club, the prospective members in particular, to see a professional demonstration. Now, that demonstration that I witnessed for Mystery Shop was for Blue Cross Blue Shield in Massachusetts. Do you think Blue Cross Blue Shield wants somebody showing up giving a demonstration where dogs are barking in the background, where people helping, you don't know who they are, they could be a terrorist coming in, ooh, who is that person? I've never seen them before, because you don't see them. And when the sound is so terrible, we have to be at the top of our game when we get to these meetings. Now I hear you saying, I've heard this excuse so many times. Oh, I don't like Zoom. I don't like Zoom. I don't like Zoom. Zoom is terrible. It just makes my head cringe. We don't need Zoom. Wow. But you know what? A good speaker, a good Toastmaster can speak no matter what venue they are in. If you're in an elevator, if you're in a car, and if you're on Zoom, you should be able to communicate with people, even if you can't see what they look like. But you should be able to see what they look like. Oh, Bert, you almost left. So at that point, I would now like to ask if there are any questions. I am opening up the door for this. Michelle, did you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I know you had mentioned earlier, oh, I wonder if people are going to cringe when I say some of these things. It's so needed to be said. I applaud you 100%. We are a professional organization. We have to remember our tagline is where leaders are made. And it's really incredible to see people show up and to care, because it adds weight to the meeting and it tells people it's important. You can't tell people, oh, by the way, you've got to get on Pathways and hear all the things that you have to do. And you're hanging out in a t-shirt, like you said, sucking on a drink and crunching on chips. And then we tell people that they have to do these things and they say, why? It's not really that important. But if you show up and you're dressed and you're professional, and then you've got some rules, people say, well, sure, they've got rules. Just like if you go into a country club, they might tell you need to wear a jacket. I love that you took the time and the courage to do what you just did. It's all fantastic. I know some of those were applied to me, and I am going to work on some of them. Sure, all of us can do some of these things, but excellent advice, super thorough. Thank you so much for taking the courage and the time to do what you just did.
Thank you. I think Kurt was a little bit ahead of you, Stacy. Go ahead, Kurt. Let me have a side broadside.
Is there a way for you to make a short video of how to do these things so that we could present it to our club?
That's a good question.
I know.
Now, you know, I have a YouTube video about that, and the name of the video is 7 Ways to Ruin a Zoom Meeting. And it's 3.5 minutes long. But for you, Kurt, I guess I could give a synopsis of this. I'll work on it because I know I harped a little hard on the leaders who should be leading in everything we do. We should be showing the way. We should be the standard bearers. We should be the light that people want to follow, Michelle. You got to be that light. And so I will work on that for you.
I appreciate that, because it would be nice to have the same kind of look across the whole area, because you told us how to do it. You would be
Okay.
fine.
Thank you. Okay, Miss Stacy, have at it.
Thank you, Bert. And I agree with everything that's been said. That was an awesome presentation. I loved your humor, whether it was intended or not. That was a great way to present that particular speech. I do agree with everything that you said. We do need to practice being a good audience and to be the audience that we'd like to see. One of the other suggestions I might make is show up 15 minutes early, just like you would to a live meeting. Be there online when people show up to your Zoom portion of your hybrid meeting or your Zoom meeting, whatever it is, and greet people when they come in the door, just like you would if it was a live meeting. I have been to meetings where I showed up and everybody was just sitting there doing other things. It was silent. Everybody was on mute. Nobody was talking or enjoying each other's company. And that's a big part of how we get new members in, is that they have to feel welcome when they come in the door. So get on before, stay a little after, and make it fun. Thank you, Bert. Great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stacy. Anybody else? Well, sports fans of all ages, we're going to take a break here. But first, I want to reiterate something that Nick has put in the chat, and I'm going to mention it also, is that we would really like for you, if you know how to change your name, to put the position that you're occupying in front of your name, and we may have to help some of you. And that way it would make us easier when we go into our breakouts. Now, I'm assuming, and you know what happens when you assume, and I'm not going to go down that road too hard and heavy, that most all of you today if you want to know how to change your name, go into the participants, click on the little camera link there on the right hand side where it says more, and then rename yourself. Yeah, and at this point I rename myself anybody. Okay. I'm assuming that most all of you have been to the training 6 months ago for your office. Now, this particular training, which we're going to go into, and we're going to go into it in 12 minutes, the moderators are going to ask you questions one at a time, and they're going to make notes of things that were helpful or things that were bad or things that didn't come out right. It's a chance for you to express yourself. And then after 45 minutes in the breakout room, we're going to come out, and then the moderators are going to share some of this information. Because if information was good for a sergeant at arms, it might also be beneficial for a vice president of membership. This is how we find out and spread how to do things better among all people. And I think it's going to be beneficial to everybody.